views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program host and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by TCN TV Network Incorporated. Due to the social nature of this broadcasting channel, videos may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. The TCN TV Network claims no rights to the said content. TCN TV Network cannot be held accountable for the copyrighted content. TCN TV Network is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this program.
And then we expand on them with very. I'll finish off the change by buying gum. Pardon? What? And it took me a while to decipher what he was saying. I came up with we can get better at what we're weak at, and we can even get better at what we're strong at. What makes communication healthy or effective? And Welcome to this edition of What Matters. I'm your host, Eric Hilita, and today my very hardworking guest, as you could clearly see, is LaMoi. Hi, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
It is good to be back, and I'm happy to have you here, and I do really wish that it was under better circumstances. Yeah. It is nice to have you here, it really is, but I wish it wasn't because of this. Oh, you need the mic closer? Yeah, pull the mic closer to you. Okay. That's good? All right. So today's episode is in tribute to Mr. I.C. Bailey. I.C. was the founder of Conversations With. It's a collective dedicated to having dialogues about the things that matter most in the lives of Black, Brown, and Indigenous people, people of color, LGBTQIA2 plus folks, transgender, non-binary people, women, and differently abled people. I.C. was an author. He was an advocate. He was the people's champion.
He really was.
He really, really was. And very, very sadly, last Thursday, we lost I.C. to this realm, to this world, to this earthly form. I found out about I.C.'s passing when I had just sent his assistant a reminder for the release form for his appearance today. I.C. and I had been speaking on social media for years. I had the pleasure of having him on earlier this year. And he was coming back. He was so excited about his book, Conversations with White People, Dialogues About Race. And he had started his tour. Selena, if you don't mind, can you pull up that picture of, no, not that one, with I.C. and LaMoi and Tennille. They're all in black. There we go. At the book launch. I believe that was December 6th.
It was, 2 weeks ago.
December 6th. There he is. Where's LaMoi? So cute.
All black everything.
All black everything. And this was December 6th, and he was so excited about this part of his journey, about this branch. He had spoken to me about this book over a year ago, and how excited he was. And I'm sure that my shock and my surprise does not compare to the thousands of people that were in his groups, all of his colleagues and his fellow champions. It's really, really heavy. And if this year has taught me anything, it's death doesn't really take into account our plans or our ambitions or what we feel to do next. But what I.C. did do is he started something. Find a word. You're the poet.
Amazing. Is the only
Amazing.
word that I can find to use.
So tell me, LaMoi, how did you meet Icy?
Oh, I was thinking about this a couple days ago. So I was a part of a production called Peace of Mind, and it was a play on Black mental health. And we were showing downtown, and Icy and his beautiful wife Sophia came to the showing. And prior to that, I saw his name and I saw his activism and his work online, but we never really connected. But I did a poem on Black mental health that really struck him, and he approached me after the play was finished and was just being icy and just saying how grateful he was for my words and how he thought it was amazing and poignant.
That is actually how he
Right?
spoke, by the way.
Isn't
It
that
really,
amazing?
really is. That's how he spoke.
And from that first conversation, he impressed on me the importance of the voices of Black women.
And like I said, I can absolutely tell you that is how he spoke. And I remember the first few times speaking to him, I'm like, man, this guy's spreading it on a bit thick. I'm be honest. The first few times I spoke to him, he contacted me to thank me for my work and my voice and what I was doing and really praising what I was doing. I'm like, okay, you're spreading it on kind of thick. But then as I listened and I watched, because consistency really is what does it, right? That's how you know what somebody's about.
His actions matched his words. Every single time.
Exactly. And since I've started this show, this is 70-something episodes in, and almost every week, Icy would write me and say, thank you for what you do. Thank you for your voice. Thank you for your contributions. And I no longer thought it was being spread on thick. It was really how he felt.
Yes, he genuinely and sincerely valued the voices of Black women, even above his own. So I mean, even just looking at this picture and planning the book launch, he would always say, "It's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about me. It's about the Black women. It's not about me." And I say, "Okay, I see. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to speak?" Like, "No, it's not about me." You'll be in a panel. What are you gonna say? "No, it's not about me. I trust you. Just do what you do." And it was genuine.
Yes.
It was genuine.
But because it was so strong.
Yeah.
Because also too, and I know that we're in much different spaces now, but where we're coming from, we're not used to that. Right? Where our voices matter so much and we want to be heard, and he'll say, no, I'll be quiet, you speak, and hear what you have to say. And so at first, like I said, it almost came across as, you're just trying to butter me up. But then if you watched, it was consistent. And when I spoke, I always felt like he stopped and he listened. He always stopped when I spoke. Yeah. He didn't stop when everybody spoke, though. he wasn't. Okay, and in my tribute to IC online, there's a line that's in it, and I do not take it back, and I will not delete it. And it said, "This man was not easy." And I don't take that back because that was the truth. He was not easy. Everything could pass me. Yeah. You put one word in that was wrong, and he would go for it, and he would let you know. And I appreciated his consistency because what he did, he truly believed in it. So, and before we break from this segment, I really do want to put up this picture of him and read some of the words from the conversations with Paige. Can you pull up Icy's high school picture, please? Now I have to read this part. Ian's favorite memory took place in the boys' room. Full contact Kumadi Kata with John Marty Martin. He describes himself as tall, dark, handsome, and slightly insane. And when asked if he had a criminal record, he replied simply, "Do you have to ask?" And if you pull up the quote about his idea of a father, please. As a skinny Black boy who did not know his father and had no father figure in his life, Malcolm X was my father as much as any man could claim to be, perhaps even more so. And on his Facebook, that I'm sure many of us had gone through, there's a picture that he put up of his little Balcom X cup. And he said, look, my cuppy. And so his heart, his mind, his passion, his vision, it lives on. It will get stronger. He has a force. He has this massive group of people of all races and ages and locations that believed in his work and appreciated his work and learned so much from him. And when we come back, we will be speaking to LaMoi more about conversations with white people, a dialogue on race. The book was released 2 weeks ago?
It's been out, but we really celebrated and launched it 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. And by the end of the show, we will give you the information on where you can get this book. But really, I'm going to let you know what IC would like you to do when you read this book when we come back from this break. Welcome back to this edition of What Matters. My name is Erica Halita, and today I am here with poet, writer, and you're just dynamic and fiery.
You.
And honestly, if you don't like loud noises, please stay away from her. LaMoi. You're not gonna like it. One of my favorite posts is you sitting in the chair with your hair, you're like talking about your hair, and you're like, yeah, so I found out that apparently men don't like this, or, apparently they don't like when we're loud, so here I am, bald and loud, and calling names. I'm saying bruh as much as I possibly can, because apparently that makes me not wife material.
Yeah.
So this is her, and if that's not for you, then
I can't help you.
She can't help you.
It is what it is.
So today we are here talking about celebrating keeping it going.
Yeah.
The work, the life, the passion, the words, the vision of I.C. Bailey. He will be missed by so many. And we lost I.C. on Thursday, this Thursday. And his funeral is tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. And it just goes to show you that we have no time put down. If there's something you want to do, do it. Because if he kept thinking about this, it would have died with him.
Yes.
It would have died with him. Yeah. If there's a book inside of you, if there's a podcast, if there's a show, if there's a poem, put it on paper and share it. Because there's a saying that goes, all of the best ideas are at the cemetery. And I'm so grateful that I.C. put his vision into motion. There are several conversations group. You got conversations with, LaMoi will do this better than me, go. How many conversations group do we have?
We have 9.
9.
Yes, so we have with white people, we have with black people, we have with, LGBTQIA+, we have people of color, mental health, sex and relationships,
caregivers,
religion, with children, with indigenous. There is a network of 9 groups around the world continually having difficult, hard conversations.
And that is what I.C. started, and it culminates in this book right here. So tell me, why did he start this work? What made IC start this?
So I have I have Icy's words in front of me, and I will be saying it exactly how he wrote it to honor him. The racism and abuse that he, in his childhood, caused great damage in his life. It led him to try and find the reasons why he was racially, mentally, physically, and sexually abused. His search led him to the system of racism and why and how it has destroyed the lives of Black, Indigenous, Native, and people of color everywhere. A little bit about Ian's story. He was taken from his family in the 70s and moved to Newmarket when it was as white can be. And
wow. In the 70s?
In the 70s.
He was the only Black child there, wasn't he?
And he was adopted by a white family, which then caused a lot of physical, sexual, and mental abuse that stretched over a long period of time. And trying to find answers as to why was he treated this way? What is the system that governs the way that Black people are treated differently from white people? He began to talk to white people, and he learned their ways. He studied their heroes, studied their wars, studied the way that they did things. He learned to mimic their language and how they spoke as a survival mechanism. And he asked them questions. And that started a 20-year long journey towards this book.
I'm so proud of you, LaMoi. I'm so proud of you because I know how hard this is.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her.
You cry.
It's okay, we got tissue.
Some Kleenex, please.
You're going to be okay. And thank you for that. That part of the story is something that he has shared briefly.
Yes.
And that was something that I found that was very special because a lot of people who go through trauma like that on that level never speak of it.
Right. And that is what stirred him to action, is the fact that across the world, Black communities are subjected to trauma because of white supremacy, because of racism. And a lot of us don't have the resources. We don't have the means. We don't have the courage or the support to speak out about it. And so it really was one person gathering his pain together and making something great from it. And we know that when someone around you makes something great, it encourages us to also take our pain and make greatness from it as well. And so these groups are then filled with people who are saying, yes, this is me too. Yes, I've gone through this. Yes, I've experienced this. And I can now share, and I can now share my stories because it's validated. Because when all our voices are lifted, we recognize that all our stories, though may have different details, are really the same.
Amen. It's not even a religious show, but I got to give that an amen. Yeah. Because it is the lifting of the voices. It is the gathering of the voices. And yes, here it says, and I love this, a voice is a powerful thing. It is the only thing in the universe that has the power to change something outside itself. We share voices with the world. We educate and reveal. Sharing information in the face of ignorance, we speak truth to power. Join us in ending the pain and abuse created by racism, sexism, ableism, ageism, trans and homophobia. And that was the mission. That was the idea of his voice. Yeah. Our voices united. And I know that I've been on social media for over 10 years. And in the last, I'd say 4 or 5 years, there's been this concentration. And it is so empowering. Even when I would share with my friends how I was really feeling about parenting or really feeling about my children in that moment. And that, you don't like them too? and you would see them being like, thank you for saying that out loud. I thought it was just me. I thought that I was a bad person and or saying that, you know what, even the what do they call it now? Not cultural slights, but the Microaggressions, that's the word. Yes. Thank you. The microaggressions. When I first heard that term, I'm like, man, they're just trying to label everything. Well, yes, we are labeling everything because things have names. Yeah. And there's things that have been happening forever that we've never named. Mm-hmm. And
there's power in naming.
There's power in naming. And that feeling of going home after a long day at the office and you've been having all these but there's no name for them. And you think you're just being sensitive. Mm-hmm. And then somebody else says, yeah, did you notice how they said that thing? And you're like, you noticed too? Yeah. And you feel empowered. Yeah. Even though in that moment, nothing changed except somebody else acknowledged that they noticed too, or they feel that too, or they've been there too. Just in that second, you feel that I'm stronger. Yes. I'm not alone. Yeah. I'm not crazy.
And that is exactly what I see believe is awareness is the beginning of everything. And once you have the awareness and once you're able to articulate your feelings, your experiences, that is when you then are able to make the choice to shift, right? And so these conversations with white people especially, it's giving them the awareness that things need to shift. This is wrong. You are harming and impacting the lives of Black and Indigenous people all over the world. Something needs to shift. But you won't know what it is until someone names it and claims it. And you're like, damn, I am privileged. I do benefit from racism. Okay, now what?
One of the privileges of privilege that I just found out recently with a conversation I had on social media is that you never know you have it. That's the privilege of having privilege, is you are completely, wonderfully oblivious to the fact that it exists because it is completely a part of your life. And as a CIS woman, I sit in great privilege. No one ever questions me. Yeah. No one ever, there are things that I never experience because I identify with what I was born with as and what I look like, that classic idea of femininity. And I just never had to consider any of it because, well, I'm a woman. Right. And that spreads to every realm in terms of privilege. So when we come back, we're going to give you the definition. I love this. This is always like one of my favorite parts when IC does this because he's done this for me before. We're going to talk about what is racism? What does it mean? Dun, dun, dun. We'll be right back after this break.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
World-famous spiritual astrologer and psychic Pandit Sai is born to serve people. He's an expert on palmistry and horoscope. He can handle all problems and give Vedic solutions for business, job, love, marriage, husband and wife problems, children, personal, and many others, including depression. He also performs pujas to clear all sorts of obstacles. Call Pandit Sai and see changes in your life now. 647-766-1419. Located at 2895 Derry Road, East Mississauga, Airport Road, and Derry.
Karen, I'd like to present something to you. Oh, goodness.
My name is IC Bailey, and I've been blessed with a wonderful sister, friend, LaMoi, muse, a mentor, and just blessing to our community. And I appreciate all the sisters that came up on the stage tonight, because the Black community will be nowhere without Black women. And we need to listen to your voices, heed your wisdom, treat you a lot better, and stop being just complete trash like Almond and I. Thank you. You blessed my book with a poem when it had absolutely nothing in it. you gave me this poem, and I kept on reading it, black and tired, over and over again. And it would be 1 page, and 2 pages, and 3 pages, 4 pages. And then your LaMoi talks. Forget TED Talks. Your LaMoi talks. Your bravery, your wisdom, the beautiful way that you've raised your daughter to be this warrior. That's just incredible. My goodness. So I thank you, LaMoi. And I give you this book. This is one of my children. I don't have a family, so to speak, but you become like my sister to me. You're beloved. You're amazing. And I'm going to tell you, I love you, and I adore you, and admire you. So,
Welcome back to this edition of What Matters. We are celebrating the life of I.C. Bailey, author of Conversations with White People, a discussion on race. He was, LaMoi, you do this.
Oh my goodness. He was brave. He was courageous. He was never ending. He didn't stop. This work is hard, and people need to realize when you put yourself in the place to do this work and have this conversation, it's hard. And he did it for 20 years. He's a warrior, and the fight is not over.
Nope.
But his physical form is resting now.
His physical form is resting. And I read a great line today that said, when we leave, the people who leave us here in the flesh become our shining lights from above. And I read your post that he kind of played a big trick on you.
He
that
did.
You know,
Yeah.
I saw you post that you were taking a break for a while, and at that time I didn't know he had passed away. Yeah. And I reached out to you. I actually didn't expect you to answer right away. And when I asked his publicist if someone would like to come on to represent Conversations with White People, she said, I'm going to get back to you. And I got back an email, and in my email was LaMoi's name. And I said, I know this woman is sitting there somewhere. You know when, like, you kick the air? I know that this chick is somewhere doing this and kicking the air and saying, yeah, I'm going, and I know this is what I got to do. But really, I kind of had a feeling that's what was happening.
When I found out that he passed, I broke down, and I didn't think I can continue the work without him. I didn't want to. He was my big brother, and he was my protector, and he made me feel like I was invincible, like I can do anything, that my voice can be loud and bold, and nobody could touch me because IC was gonna mess them up. And I don't know if I could do it without him. And I said that. I said, I don't know if I can do this without you. And he played a trick on me.
And here you are.
I'm here.
You're doing it.
Doing it.
But you're doing it with him. You are doing it with him. You aren't without him. So, one of my favorite questions to ask I.C. Bailey, what is racism?
This is $1 million question. And I love the way that he worded it, so I'm going to read his answer. While this involves the possession of systemic power plus racial prejudice, it also includes the creation and maintenance of a system that was created to give benefits, advantages, and privileges to white people while rendering black people as disposable objects. The Webster's Dictionary does not tell you that, right? It just says to treat other people as inferior to your own. But with this definition that I see put together for us, and through his book, it's there. It's the act of having power, having clout, right? Having street cred, having whatever, to then act on your prejudice.
Right.
And that is the most important
That is
piece.
the most important piece. And that is why often when people are saying, and I saw a great video, I have to share this with you when I find it, about reverse racism. It was a comic. And he stood up and he said, you know, people come up to me, he's an Indian man, and he said, you know, people come up to me and they're like, well, you know, you go up and you make fun of white people, and if I did it, then I'd be wrong. And he's like, yeah. And then he goes on, and they're like, well, isn't that reverse racism?
Right.
And then he goes on to explain, and this is really funny. I do have to share it. And he goes all the way back. He's like, well, you know, if I rallied the people together from Asia and Africa and India, and then we went to Europe and we invaded, and we had a transatlantic slave trade, and you know, he spoke about all the history, just putting it backwards, and then fast forward, and I'm saying, well, you know, why can't white people dance? That is reverse racism. But the part of racism that people often don't understand, and we use words very interchangeably now, but one of the parts of racism that people don't understand, and what IC's definition really helps explain, is that in order to be able to be really racist and not just, you know, prejudice or not like somebody because of who they are, in order to be really racist, I have to be able to affect your life.
Exactly.
I have to be able to affect the outcomes of your life, not just hurt your feelings, not just upset you or make you feel unwanted, but I have to be able to change where you live, where you go to school, how much money you make, if you're allowed in certain things, and then I can be racist against you. But if I am not in a position of power, I'm just prejudiced and I just don't like you. So that is the definition, and that is the difference. For anyone out there that was kind of confused and saying, well, you know, black people are racist too. And it's not that I would want to be, but in that sense of having some kind of power to change something, that would be where I could actually be racist. And that's where shadeism comes in.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah, and I want to stress, it's not only just power, because we can say, well, if I am black and I have a company, I can fire somebody, you know. So it's not just that power. It's the knowledge that the systems that govern the land that you live in will back you up.
Right. Exactly. And that exactly having that yes, and that is a very, very big component of that.
Huge component.
A huge component of it. And I mentioned that as the two light-skinned girls sit at the table and talk, because I thought that was kind of important, because when I held her hand, I realized we were afflicted by the same winter issue. But yes, and colorism is a part. And I remember, you know, feeling that way too. Again, sitting at a place of privilege and going, well, I didn't make myself and I didn't decide that. And what do you want me to do about it? But there really, if you think and you open your mind to it, there really is. And really quickly, before we wrap up this section, so what do people need to know about racism? You don't got a lot of time.
Right. Number one, Black people are the experts. Let me get close to the mic for this one. Black people are the experts on what affects their life. Really? White people do not have any say in the conversation of what is racist and what is not racist. And so if you are non-Black, if you're white and you're asking yourself, what is racist? Am I racist?
Go ahead. If you tap, it vibrates.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were telling something. And now I lost my train of thought. Oh, yes. Listen to Black people. Listen to Black women as IC's legacy. Listen to Black women. Listen to Black people. Have those conversations, because they will tell you what is racist and what is not. What is racism affecting our life here in North America?
Absolutely. And I've had several conversations where I've had somebody who is non-Black say to me, well, I don't really think it's like that. And it's like, but I just told you that's what it's like. And so you are actually questioning my understanding of my experience. When I tell you, you know, I'm still getting followed around in stores, and I am obviously not a teenager. And they're like, no, I don't think that's what's happening. I'm with me all the time.
Yeah.
And I can assure you that is what's happening.
Yes.
So you're absolutely right, and check in. And we have to, again, look at so many things are delivered to us through somebody else's lens. So when someone offers you their experience through their eyes, that is the absolute most authentic recount understanding that you will get of that person's experience is what they're telling you they felt. Because even if, and that's the thing is, even if there was something else going on in the background, it doesn't change how I felt at that moment. So you have to listen to the people who are speaking to you. So when we come back from this break, and this has gone way too fast, When we come back from this break, we are going to, one of the last questions that I'm going to be asking her is, what do we expect from the book? What can we expect from the book? And I have a little quote that I want to share from IC, and then we'll let you know more about, sadly, his funeral tomorrow afternoon. We'll be right back after this break.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity in our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
It is my hope, reader, that you will take what you have learned from this book, sit in radical discomfort, and begin the task of doing the work of undoing white supremacy. It is my hope that you will engage in uncomfortable conversations with your peers, your family, and your friends. It is my hope that this book has inspired you to become an ally and to speak truth to power. It is the only way even a mediocre of change can begin. I.C. Bailey. And that is the hope that I.C. had as you picked up Conversations with White People, a discussion on race. And as you see, it's thick, it's juicy. LaMoi has obviously, been at it. And the next question then would be, what can we expect from this book?
This book is a compilation of the different conversations that occur in the groups that IC has founded. A lot of the conversations are spearheaded by the amazing Black women who run these groups. And just like the quote said, the conversations will make you uncomfortable. It will call you to sit in the discomfort of awareness. But also, going back to our conversation in the last segment, it will validate you as a Black person, as a Black woman, as a Black man, any part of Blackness that you occupy. It will validate your experiences, it will validate your voices, and it will validate that white supremacy has oppressed you, despite the privileges that we all experience based on money, education, gender. Despite that, white supremacy has oppressed you. And through these conversations, not only will you get awareness, but you will feel validated. And you'll be like, yes, this has been my experience.
This is actually really interesting, because as I'm sitting here, I'm listening, and I'm listening to LaMoi, but these are conversations. That's what they are. They are actual transcripts of back and forths between people. And, I started just reading one, and I actually got very enthralled, because it starts out with, you have Black History Month, you have a swimming pool for Asian women, you have an Islamic banks for Muslims only, you have Year of the Dragon for Chinese people. If we had a White Pride Day, you'd call us racist. If we had White History Month, we'd be racist. And I obviously have some reading to do.
It's very interesting.
It's very interesting.
It looks thick. It looks thick, but it really is reading through just different conversations that are posted in the group. And you'll see also the emotional labor and the intellectual labor that Black women go through to explain things over and over and over. And you will see the abuse and the obtuseness. Is that a word? Obtuseness?
It is now.
Of having to explain to white people, you harmed me. These are the ways that you harm me. I'm calling you to task. I'm calling you to accountability. Sorry. It's the poet in me.
I know.
I'm calling you to task. I'm calling you to be accountable to the awareness that you now have, right? Because awareness is great, but what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, exactly. Once you know, where do you go?
What are you going to do with it?
And that's interesting because obviously, I'm looking at some papers that were prepared before, and obviously I see would have been here and spoken in his own voice. But interestingly enough, and this is what, honestly, this question really makes me sad because unfortunately, what is next is his funeral tomorrow, but it is not the end of his work. Right. In what next is next for you, he replies, I have 3 books on the go. Conversations with Black people and a reality-based nonfiction entitled Black Boy, White Town, My Rules for Survival. As LaMoi had explained in the beginning, he grew up in a town where he was the only one. And if you are a person of color, you know how uncomfortable it is to be the only one anywhere. You don't even one
It's
other.
my nightmare. It's my actual nightmare to be the only one.
The only one.
That's horrible.
Like I would walk into my college classes and I would immediately scan the room.
Yes.
And I may never talk to you. Just need to know you're in the class.
Yeah.
There's
almost a safety.
Yeah, and that's really what it felt like. That's what the scan was for. So there is something.
Yeah.
We need to talk about that.
That's a good conversation.
I think that's a very good conversation. We actually need to have that conversation on what's the psychology behind us scanning for each other. And then, interestingly enough, we sometimes won't even talk to one another, but we want to know the other one is there. So that's very interesting. That's something we should talk about. So I know that everything is so recent and everything is so sudden. Yeah. I mean, he hasn't even been gone a week. And, I know you are probably hearing his voice in your head. Okay, push on. Okay, next, moderate the group and make sure and don't let everything kind of fall apart because I spent 20 years stitching this together. And that is a part of honoring him, right? Is continuing the work, even though you weren't sure you had it in you. Right. What are you thinking now? How are you feeling now?
The groups have been trucking on. There are amazing women, men, transgendered in the group that are really doing the work and continuing the work, and I have to send love and props to them. They are making sure that IC's voice does not die. They're continuing the hard conversations, and we have to. This movement is too big, and just like IC was, he made sure that Black women did 99% of the work because our voices matter. And he was always like, it's not about me. And it would break his heart if, in his absence, the movement died or lost momentum. That would break his heart. And so the groups are still growing and they're still expanding. And there's more work to be done.
And so how do we get a copy of the book? How would we get hold of this book?
You can go onto conversationswithwhitepeople.net and order the book. You can go to any of the groups on Facebook and order the book. The links will be there. You can type in on Google and you'll find the book. It's readily available.
Okay, so you can go to conversationswith.net?
Yes.
And that is actually kind of like the hub page because there's several conversations with groups. One that I saw today and I thought was really wonderful is conversations with caregivers.
Yes.
That's really big. So many of us are in what is called a sandwich generation, where we are now caring for our children and caring for our parents. Mm-hmm. And who cares for the caregiver, right? So again, his vision, the broadness of it, it wasn't there. So much inclusiveness.
Yes.
And what was very interesting is actually he included everybody who was always left out.
Yeah.
Right?
And that was a big part of his heart.
Exactly. A huge part of his heart.
Everybody who was left out felt like they had a home.
Yes.
And felt like they had support and felt like they had a community. He really built a like apartment building of community, you know, like
right.
he built a block
Exactly.
of people just being family. And that's so rare to do it from a genuine heart. He didn't ask for anything in return, just that you were held accountable to your awareness.
Exactly.
And then you went and taught somebody else.
And then to do it for 20 years, again, as we know in this social media game, and honestly with anything else, be it your poetry career
Right.
or writing, consistency really is what separates you from the masses, because people pick things up and put them down all the time, right? And I'm sure you've noticed that people kind of peek back in. They're like, "Oh, you still at that?" and then it's after a while that people are like, "Okay, I'm gonna take her seriously because she's still doing it."
Yeah.
So 20 years of him having conversations and mediating conversations and putting himself in places of frustration in order to help alleviate other people's frustration. And tomorrow is the interment, it's not the final tribute because there will be so many tributes to IC continually throughout his life, throughout the life of this movement, which will be forever. But tomorrow is his funeral, and LaMoi's going to share some of the details of that.
Yes, we are making sure to live stream it for those who cannot attend. So if you go onto any of the conversations with groups, it will be live streamed at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Central
Atlantic time.
At 12 p.m. Pacific Time, and 8 p.m. UK time. So you can log on. You can go onto any of the groups on Facebook, and you can see the proceedings live streamed.
Live streamed. Okay, so conversations with, there's several groups. If you type it in Facebook, one of them will pop up.
Yes.
There are groups that you can actually see the contents. There'll be a join button as well that you can click join. I will 3 o'clock. I'll be yep. So I can also share it on the Eric Elita page as well. And you know, this is where you're stuck, and the talk show host has no words. Except I'm really sorry. And I really wish that the people we love didn't have to transition almost. I know we all can't live forever, but the losing of someone in the flesh is hard.
It's hard. It's also a blessing that he's now an ancestor, right? And we hold that. We hold that close. He's now an ancestor.
All the hair on my arms just stood up.
Whispering in God's ear.
Yeah,
you know,
he is now an ancestor. Not even a week ago. Wow.
Rest in power.
Rest in power,
Sleep
I.C.
well,
Bailey.
brother.
Sleep well. We know that you are watching and listening and whispering into the hearts and minds of the people who you touched, and you will touch so many more. We are grateful. We are thankful. And my condolences to all of his followers and friends and fans and family. This is what matters. IC did what matters. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Erica Edwards. This is LaMoi Simmonds, and we thank you for joining us today for this special edition of What Matters.